Are we live? I think so. Hello, everyone. Oh my God, there's like all of three of you. This is going to be a very fast live stream tonight. Hello, Serge. 379,000 kilometers on a 1.5 TDCI. That's not bad going, you know. But you shouldn't be watching this video because you're on borrowed time. In actual fact, 1 minute. Let me just check something out. If I go for distance, yeah, so that's about 235,000 miles. Yeah, you've got a little way to go, so don't worry too much. I'll tell you what, if you're watching this video tonight and you're driving a Mk5 Mondeo, you'd probably have to have your Mondeo as a taxi and do a lot of mileage to actually need a new DPF. I would say that much. You'd have to be a high roller, a lot of miles on your car. So hang on a minute, hang on a goddamn minute. There was three of you. There was three of you a minute ago when I started this live stream. Now the flipping goddamn whole flipping column's filled up. It's like I'm only planning this to go for an hour, so don't get no ideas. Anyway, Serge, hello, fellow detractor. I glad to see you finally got a license for that here stream. I'll tell you what, you could probably print your own license these days for anything you wanted, can't you? Haven't you heard? The world is boiling. Do you know why I've got no hair? Because when I walked outside the door this morning, I caught fire. Also, have you also heard, you know, Nigel Farage has been debanked by Coots? You'll never believe that his nemesis, his arch enemy, Gina Miller, who's as left wing as you can get, she's been debanked as well. Holy crap. And do you know what? People on the left think it can't happen to them. If it can happen to Gina bloody Miller, it can happen to anybody. Also, have you watched that Jeff buys cars? 500 Mercedes EVs have gone to the bottom. No, they haven't sunk yet, have they? They've gone up in fire. They've all spontaneously combusted, or at least one of them has gone up in smoke, and it's burnt the whole. It's burnt every other car in the ship. 3,000 cars on that container ship, all gone up in smoke, and they're trying to stop the ship from sinking. Makes you think about EVs, doesn't you? And then you've got that other car that was given to this woman as a hire car. She parks it at her house, at her garage, and his car is just sitting there, not on charge, and it just combusts. It just starts, it goes up in smoke and takes her bloody house with it. I'm not liking EVs, especially when you're hearing about all these stories. And I definitely wouldn't entertain one that comes from bloody China. Look at all these MG cars that are going around. Not that Morris garages have got anything to do with China. They only bought the bloody name, didn't they? But they're making all these MG cars with a big badge on it. All these modern cars. Look nice, don't they? And people are buying them. But when China make EVs on the MGs and they bring them over here, there's going to be some fires. I'm not trusting them. Anyway, fellow detractor, good to hear from you. Hello, Vivian, how are you? Yes, I'm doing great. Just been at work all day. Done a air conditioning condenser on a Ford Fusion. And as I was underneath it, it's in front of the radiator. You've got to pull the radiator from inside the engine bay forward and then like drop it out. And all the shit and fucking dust come off it, didn't it? All in my fucking face and down the bloody hair. I've got like grit in my eyes now. I should have been wearing some safety glasses, but I wasn't. Anyway, Vivian, good to hear from you. Ballsy Explorer, good evening. Hello. David, hello, David. Good on you. Hello, Steve. How are you? Just remember, Steve, this isn't Coronation Street or the Crossroads Motel. This is the Alan's live stream. Anyway, good to hear from you. If this computer takes a shit and it all goes black, don't worry. It just means we're not living in a perfect world. And I don't want to live in a perfect world. I like the glitches. I like it when things don't always fit and things don't always work out. That's the whole fun of it. David, hello. Scott, mine went at 120k, but I don't know if it was one of the sensors. That's the problem. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about DPFs, specifically on Mark 5 Mondeo 2-litre diesels. The reason I'm picking on that car is because that's the bloody car I've been working on for I don't know how long now. So I know a little bit about the DPFs on these cars. If you ever remember, if you ever owned a diesel car years and years ago before DPFs, you would get a lot of black smoke. If you had an old Escort and it was a diesel, I mean, they were noisy, clattery things, weren't they? And they smoked a lot. And years ago, they would say on the TV, look what diesel cars are doing. This was after the government said that diesel was the way to go and we should all go out and buy a diesel car. But diesel cars, a lot of soot comes out of them, doesn't it? And it gets on buildings and makes everything black and horrible. So we know that diesels cause damage to the, well, I guess they do cause damage to the buildings, at least they make them black. So they brought out emissions, they brought out DPFs, and the early DPFs were just like a DPF, were just like a filter in the exhaust. And it was a simple device, but you had to drive normally at a certain speed on a long, like a motorway, for a certain distance for it to burn off the soot inside the DPF to clear it. Otherwise it would block up. And when they block up, you lose power and you can find yourself in all kinds of problems. You can find yourself breaking down. If you take a catalytic converter on a petrol car, it's a similar idea really. There's a honeycombed mesh inside the actual exhaust silencer sort of thing. The exhaust gases go through it. There are what's called precious metals inside this catalytic converter. And as the gases go through on these precious metals, they change the, the impurities and you get clean air out the back, so to speak. It's pretty much the same with a diesel. As all the soot and shit out the engine, which has already been burnt in the engine, goes through the DPF, it kind of gets trapped in the DPF. And then the DPF has to reach a high temperature to burn off that soot and pretty much bring clean gases out the back. So you're not getting all that soot out the exhaust. So it's a pretty good idea. The problem is DPFs are not very reliable. And I guess now, in this day and age, in 2023, on a lot of cars, they've got to the point where the actual engine management systems are now in control of the DPF to quite a big degree, really. On the Mark 5 Mondeo, you've literally got the engine management system controlling the fuel injectors and how much fuel they inject to actually cause the regenerations on these cars. And I have been sort of like studying these DPFs for quite a while. And what we first found was we had one car, it wasn't blocking up. I could do a regeneration on the DPF on this particular car, and on my diagnostic tool, it would say there was pretty much zero soot loading in this DPF, yet the engine oil was rising. and I could not stop the engine oil from rising. And in the end, I replaced the DPF, the whole DPF, for a second-hand unit, which I knew was a good unit, and it cured it. And I wasn't 100% sure whether it was one of the sensors on the DPF or the DPF itself. After that, we had another one, and another one, and another one. And it's got to the point now where I have changed all the sensors, and it makes bugger all bloody difference. So I'm pretty convinced the DPFs are actually coming to a point in their life where that's it. They will not regenerate no more. So what's happening is, in one instance, you're getting the engine management system constantly trying to regen these DPFs and failing to do it. And by the way, what is generally happening, as I can figure, is that pretty much on the exhaust stroke of when the engine is firing, the injectors are being fuel is being fired into the injectors, through the injectors into the cylinders of the car to do a regen, which is not normally the time that the injectors should be firing into these cylinders. So this fuel is now going into the cylinders and down the side of the piston skirts and into the sump. And it's making the engine oil level rise and rise, up and up and up, simply because it's not being able to carry out a proper regen because the DPF has come to the end of its life. I am not 100% sure exactly what is going wrong inside the DPFs, because some of them are not blocked at all. And this is the problem. I think these DPFs, they've got a honeycomb inside them, but maybe there is a certain proportion that is melted and the gases aren't getting through properly. Or it's just the case that they have got a coating in them, inside them, and they are not clearing the gases properly. They're not converting the gases properly. There is something going wrong inside these DPFs at certain mileage that they just will not regenerate no more. And we have had so many now that we've had to change simply because we cannot do nothing with them. And the other problem is that apart from engine oil level rising, we get the DPFs on these Mark 5 Mondeos as well, where the soot loading does get high, and it will put the car into forced limited power. And once it's in forced limited power, you can't do nothing. You have to literally do a regeneration. On our particular diagnostic tool, I could, it's not advisable, but you can, there's a little tab where you can press that you've replaced the DPF and it will put the values back to 0, even though the DPF is blocked. That could cause serious overheating issues, and if you don't, you really don't want to do that on a DPF that's blocked up. But generally speaking, a lot of these DPFs, I've now got to the point where some of them are coming in. We have the engine management light on, we have the little spanner light on the dash as well. And when I check the codes, it says DPF soot accumulation and DPF forced limited power, engine forced limited power. So I have to do a regeneration on the DPF. So I can connect my scanner up and carry out this forced regeneration. And what I tend to find is, obviously, if there's something wrong with a car, say for instance, one of your vacuum pipes was off, or maybe your mass airflow meter plug connector's been left off, or something like that, there's something not right, it won't carry out a regen. It will probably do 20 minutes into the regen, then it will abort the regen. Then you know there's something definitely wrong. If it does a full regen, it normally lasts around about 40 minutes. And you can watch the values, you can watch the soot loading go down and down and down. Generally, it will go up a bit first, then after about 10-15 minutes in, it will start to come down. And it should come down to very, very low soot loading. But I'm finding quite a few of these DPFs are getting to, even after the regeneration, there is still a significant amount of soot loading in these DPFs that it hasn't burnt off. And it says to me that maybe they're getting blocked to the point where you can't clear them no more, or they are getting melted inside, so that there's a limited amount that the gases can actually, or this DPF can actually collect the soot. So there's getting more pressure inside them. Anyway, that was enough for a minute. I'll go through a few people that are on here, then I'll carry on, because I've come to the conclusion now about these DPFs. I've had enough of them go wrong to actually say this is what the problem is. This is what you have to do about it. Hello, Scott. Gutted it now. A lot of people do. A lot of people do now. They do a DPF delete. That's the end of it. Happy days. You'll just be putting a bit of soot out. But what do? This is the problem. When you talk about a DPF, it depends what car it is. But if you've done X amount of miles and your DPF is knackered, I mean, you can go down the route of taking your DPF off and getting these chemicals. You can put chemicals through it. Pressure washing it is not advisable, but there are chemicals you can put in it to supposedly clear it out. There's also additives you can put in your car, in your diesel fuel, which is supposed to help it. I have found that these chemicals, they do work a bit, but they're not a long-term remedy. They only seem to be a short-term remedy. And it's like when you get a car that's done a lot of mileage, trying to clear your DPF with chemicals, it just ain't happening. It's not going to be sort of like, once that's done, it's going to last for another God knows how many 100,000 miles. It ain't. It's going to block up again. And I think it's just got to the point now where these DPFs, once they've had it, they've had it. Once you can't regen them no more and you can't clean them, you just have to replace them. Either replace them or do whatever with them. Delete them. What else can you do? And it's this cost involved. That is the problem. It is literally the cost involved in replacing them. If DPFs were cheap and they were easy to replace, then I think a lot more people would go down the route of just replacing them. When you bear in mind, a DPF is only supposed to last, what is it, 150,000 miles? Something like that. And a lot of cars will do more, a lot more than that. But then once again, it's still a very expensive component on your car. So when it does go wrong, normally after your car would probably be quite an old car by that point. It'll be 5, 6, maybe 10 years old, and it will need to be replaced. Who wants to pay out that kind of expense to buy an DPF at like £2,000? That's the kind of price you're looking for on a Mark 5 Mondeo, around about £2,000, including the VAT. I checked with Ford, they were like £1,500, something like that. That was plus VAT. Hello, Jerry. How's you? Where's your highly educated, highly beducated mate? Who's that? Who's my mate? You'll have to let me know. Oh, do you mean? Oh, you mean Kevin? But yes, he is clever, isn't he? I don't know. I haven't seen him for a little while. I'll catch up with him later. No doubt we'll have another live stream at some point. Anyway, good to hear from you, Jerry. Vivian, went to car show today. Citroen Picasso diesel, 512,000 miles, all original engine. Picasso. Yeah, but did the Picasso have a DPF on it? That's what I want to know. I think not. Was it an old? It must be an old Picasso. They didn't have DPFs, did they? Was that before the DPFs were fitted to them? I'm thinking that's an old one. Anyway, Viv, I'm moving on. Yasir, EGR Mark 5. Yes, they do take a dump on the Mark 5. If your EGR takes a shit, it's obviously going to affect your DPF as well. That's for sure. It will put your and even all these transits, all these modern cars, if you've got anything wrong with the engine management system, there's a high chance that's also going to affect your DPF as well. So if your EGR, thermostat sometimes, various sensors on the engine, they can all go wrong, and it will affect your DPF, and it will put it will suck your DPF up, because say the EGR isn't performing as it should do. It's not giving the information to the engine management system to actually do a regen. So your DPF will get sooted up, and that will be a further problem that you've got to fix. RS500 Nutter, hello. Even Alan, over the dreaded DPF, need I say more? Yeah, they're nothing but problem, bloody problem. Do you know what? I think DPFs are actually worse than women, and that's bloody saying something. Wooly, hello. Mark 4 on 140k, still sweet. Now, if you've got the early Mark 4, then you've probably just got a DPF with 2 hoses coming off it to read the pressure in it. If you've got a Mark 4.5, you'll have the nozzle in the exhaust in the downpipe that squirts the diesel into the DPF to burn off the soot. The nozzles block up on them. I just about 100,000 miles they tend to block up. I just thought I'd let you know that. I think the earlier ones are more reliable actually. Got it, Jerry. You mean Kevin? How much do you think you would get for a Mondeo Mark 5 2-litre cat N 170k? Timing belt, EGR and thermostat done with 5,000 miles. But I'll be honest with you, when it comes to the price of buying and selling cars, I couldn't tell you. I don't really get involved in that. I would just Google it. That's all I can say. So I really couldn't tell you that. I don't. If my channel was about selling cars, even damaged cars, then I'd have a better idea. But I don't get involved in any of that. So can't help you on that one. Russell, hi. Is the same engine in the Mark IV Galaxy? I should think it is. Yeah. That engine, the 2-litre diesel, it's in a lot of different cars. It's in Citroens, Peugeots. Well, it's a Peugeot engine anyway. They fit it in a lot of different vehicles. I think they even fit them in Volvos, some of the Volvos. But yeah, you will find it in Galaxies. I've had a few Galaxies with the same engine. Car fire equals less cars on the road equals eco-friendly. Yeah, well, I'm not going along with the big climate hoax. You know, have you heard that the world is boiling at the moment? This is coming from the bigots in the WEF, the World Economic Forum. You know, them prats that want to rule the world with their one world government. You know, top down, they want to control everything. They want to enslave us all. We'll all own nothing and we'll be fucking happy. I don't think so. I think them lot need to go. Yeah, and they keep banging on about their climate emergency. Well, do you know what? I ain't feeling it, because there's a summer here that's been pretty damn crap this year. They keep saying, did you see that BBC reporter they sent across to Greece to stand there and say, hey, look at the fucking weather, look, it's so hot over here. Yeah, they sent him on like a 8-hour round trip flight just to stand there and say that. When he put it down to the bloody weather, global warming, when in fact it was bloody arsonists that set the fires in the first place. They got all their temperatures wrong, didn't they? And you see on BBC, they've got this big weather map. It's all in red and orange, like the world's all burning. They are so full of shit. I mean, does anybody believe this shit no more? Holy crap. I think everyone with half a brain is sick and tired of this climate bullshit. They've been saying it for years. You know, the world's going to end. Hey, we're still here. Haven't caught fire yet. Anyway, where are we? Cozzy, and I hope you can help. Got a 1.8 TDCi S-Max that has a problem. When you go to pull it away, there's no turbo boost worth until 2,800 RPM and then loads of power. Has had a new EGR and turbo, doing my head in. Oh, was the turbo replaced because of that problem? That's the thing. So I think a lot of them, what is it? S-Max. No, I mean that should. I would have thought that would have been pretty nippy from pulling away. So it sounds like there's something pretty seriously wrong with it. The best thing I can suggest is, after it's been on a good run, is to plug the scanner in, plug a diagnostic tool in and see if there's any codes that can point you in some kind of direction. Obviously, you're saying it's got power when you actually get going, so it sounds like there's no leakage in the boost hoses, turbo boost hoses or anything. So it's not a problem I've come with, but mind you, I don't really deal with the 1.8s anymore. It's been some years since we've actually had them engines. But no, I would definitely plug a diagnostic tool in and see if it's any codes that could be related to this. It could be something stupid like an airflow meter, something like that, or map sensor. That would give it lack of power. That could be blocked with carbon or something. So, but you need something to go on, otherwise you're stabbing in the dark. Usually, if there's a code that can give you some kind of an idea, then you'll have to actually sort of like direction to go in. But off the top of my head, I really don't know. But by the sounds of it, if it has actually got turbo boost, then it's obviously not a turbo hose. I would have thought maybe a split hose or something, air leak somewhere. Nico, Finland, hello. I bought Mk5 Mondeo diesel just a couple of weeks ago. Has it got low mileage? That's the interesting thing. Because I could write a book on these Mondeos. You know that, didn't you? I could write a lot of pages on what could go wrong with them. But I think if you look after it, do the oil changes at the right intervals, probably maybe best to do them between 8 and 10,000 miles, and use the correct oil. Change the fuel filter at the right interval as well. Matthew, hi, how are you? I'm new to your channel. Well, thank you. I've just recently bought a Mk5 Mondeo a few months back. It's my first Mondeo. I used to own Fiestas before. Well, flipping it, that's an upgrade, isn't it? That's a big upgrade. You've got sort of my little Fiesta, and now you're in a bloody great big Mk5 Mondeo, because they're quite a big old car inside, aren't they? Nice bit of luxury. If you, I mean, I'm used to these cars, so I don't even think twice about them. But if I didn't know the Mk5, or I wasn't mechanical or nothing like that, and I got in a Mk5 Mondeo, I'd be like, wow, this is quite something. It's pretty loaded, aren't they? Especially if you've got the Vignali or something high up. They've got masses of equipment in them. Nice cars. I think ignorance is bliss, you know. It's sometimes best not to know anything about your car. Just drive it. Just enjoy it. Mark, hello. Just got home after my Mark IV Mondeo decided it didn't like its camshaft and took the cam belt off. Oh dear. That's nice, isn't it? That's a expensive little job. It's not one of them where it's no, it wouldn't have done, would it? Took the cam belt off. Yeah. What exactly went wrong with it though? That's what I'm thinking. Did the cam belt strip? Did it snap? or did the camshaft snap or break? John, hello. John, you just reminded me. It's JD time. This has been the longest bottle of Jack Daniels I've ever had. I've still got flipping loads left in it. There's like 3/4 of a bottle left. God, it's got a kick to it, that's for sure. Anyway, good evening, John. Matthew, I forgot to mention it's a 1.5 TDCI economic, as in economical, more miles per gallon. That's all I do these days. Whenever I drive around, I don't drive an economic car, but I actually drive very, very slowly and carefully and light on the throttle to save fuel, because it's so bloody expensive and I don't like buying fuel. Andrew, hello. O'Reilly's does some great DPF videos. Got an Alfa Romeo Mito 2013, done 156k live data, showing 8 millibar on idle, 40 millibar at 3000 RPM. Yeah, there's no doubt there's people out there that do a lot more in-depth stuff on DPFs. Going on my own calculations on what I've seen on the Mark 5s, they have got a shelf life, if you ask me. Just about every Mark 5 Mondeo that we've had as taxis, a whole number of them now, after the initial first one, we've had a whole number of them now where they all fail in the same way. They're either making the oil level rise, or they're blocking up, and you try to do a regen and it's just not bringing the soot level down enough. And to me, that says the DPF has come to the end of its life. That's it. There's nothing more to do with it apart from replace it. And this is all happening, I guess, as in the title, how long does the bloody DPF on a Mark 5 last? And take into consideration all the cars I'm going by are taxis. So on average, around about 300,000 miles, which I guess, if they say that the life of a DPF is around about 150,000 miles, or maybe less than that, they ain't doing bad. They're still doing well. But there again, if you're driving a taxi, if you're using a car as a taxi, you can clock up 300,000 miles. I mean, you take it this way. We've got 2018 model Mark 5 Mondeos, and quite a lot of them now are over 250,000 miles. So in like 5 years, they've clocked up that kind of mileage. You would think some of these drivers haven't got a bloody life, wouldn't you? Sat in their car all day and all night. They ain't got nothing better to do but drive around. But that's what they do for a living. So yeah, they're clocking up a lot of miles very quickly. And then you sort of like, you get a car that's 5 years old and the DPF needs replacing. And then you're faced with a fantastic bill of around about £2,000. That's just for the part. That's not fitting. To actually replace the DPF on a Mondeo Mark 5, you've got to drop the front subframe off before you can get it off. Then you can unbolt it and get it off. So you're probably talking another, could be £300–400 in labour on top of your £2,000 for your DPF. Anyway, I should move on. They will soon start taxing electric vehicles for emissions, and the excuse would be because they produce brake dust. The older I get, the more amazed I am we don't pay tax for the air we breathe. Well, hold that thought, because it's probably coming. You know what that Sadiq Khan is doing with his ULEZ, didn't you? Trying to expand it to the whole of London. But what I hear, the real story behind it all really is, it's nothing to do about bloody air quality. It's all to do with pay per mile. They want people to pay per mile if you drive a car. So which means even if you own an electric car, which they are going to start taxing from 2025, I believe, anyway, they're going to try and make it probably to do the whole of this country. So wherever you go, there's going to be cameras, like all these ones at Tesco's, all the cameras at Tesco's that are watching you. I don't trust Tesco's. They may sell some decent food, but they're part of the globalist fucking problem. And they're putting the cameras up that are watching you and taking your registration numbers as you drive in and out of Tesco's. And they're going to make these cameras everywhere so that they can track you wherever you go. So they'll know how many miles you've done, and you're going to get charged per mile. That's what's coming. That's why we need to sort of like get rid of all these flipping climate lunatics, because these are the ones that are causing the problems with their net zero bullshit, and it is bullshit. You know, a lot of these governments are only puppets, aren't they? They're all having their strings pulled by this lot in the World Economic Forum. That's where it's all coming from. And I can't believe so many of people are going along with this crap. It's unbelievable, the stupidity of it all. Anyway, I've had my little rant. Hello, David. Diesel all the way, not EV, and so please, my new car is an ICE. Don't need electric cars as they cost more to run when using public chargers. So give me fuel cars over EV. Exactly. I don't mind EVs. I don't actually mind them. I think they're just another novel idea, and they could be quite handy like city driving, you know, around the streets and stuff like that. It's just the narrative that's being pushed behind them, that you need to get rid of your petrol and diesel car and you need to get this electric car. But they don't advertise the fact of what it costs to mine for the minerals, the precious minerals that go into building these lithium-ion batteries that go in these cars. And they certainly don't tell you where the electricity is coming from to charge these cars up. It's coming from fossil fuels the majority of the time. There is not enough solar and wind to actually power the national grid to keep all our homes and keep these cars charging. It's just not there. It's all bullshit. So yeah. And also I keep hearing hydrogen will work on conventional engines. They just need a bit of modification. So hydrogen is a much better way to go than electric, you know, for the masses. Because we can't all afford, who can afford an electric car? They're ridiculously expensive. But it's all about getting people off the road, isn't it? Getting cars off the road to follow their climate emergency crap. Jeff, hello. Thank you, Jeff. Good evening to you. Stephen, I've got the P2000 code, both NOx sensors being replaced on 153k. That P2000 code, I know it relates to your nitrous oxygen sensors, but in a lot of cases I've found it's like a software glitch or something like that, and it doesn't actually cause a problem. I've had one car, I changed some sensors and it did actually do some good. But in a lot of cases, you can get that code and it doesn't seem to affect the running of the car in any way whatsoever. And once in a while, it will bring the engine management light on. I wouldn't be too worried about that code. I've had it a lot, but it never seems to have really caused a problem. I was told when a lot of our Mondeos were brand new from Ford that it was just like a software issue. They hadn't worked it out yet or something. So we just switched the light off, switched the engine management light off, and you didn't see the light again for ages. So, but yeah, I've had a few where I've changed the knock sensors as well for that specific code, and it's done no good. It hasn't made any difference whatsoever. Hello, Dean. Is the ABS sensor wire Mark 5 Mondeo same part number for it? They're different part numbers. The reason they're different part numbers is because they've got a bracket that comes with them, left and right bracket, which bolts onto your anti-roll bar drop link. But you can buy two right-hand side ones or two left-hand side ones, and they will both fit either side. Just pull the new bracket off, and use the old bracket that's already on the car. The sensors are the same. All that's different is the bracket that comes with it. So they are different part numbers, but they're the same sensors. Hi, Mark. I've just changed my DPF this week on my Mark 5. Had done 375,000. Just keep regenning. Yeah, that's the problem. It keeps regenning, but it's not clearing the soot, or it's just not carrying out the regen properly. And you're getting, were you getting the oil level in your engine rising? Because if you haven't checked that, you want to check that big time. A lot of the cars we've had, it will cause the oil level to rise because it keeps regenning. And during the regen, you're getting diesel fuel going into the cylinders because the engine management system on the Mark 5, because it's such an advanced engine management system, it fires the diesel fuel injectors to clean the DPF. So it's firing the injectors when it wouldn't normally fire the injectors, and the fuel would normally go down the exhaust and clear the DPF, but it's not. Because it can't regen, this excess fuel is going down the cylinders into the sump and making the engine oil level rise. And you know what happens if your engine oil level rises too much, don't you? It means that your car, because it's a diesel car and diesel fuel is oil, it means your car is perfectly capable of running on its own engine oil. So if the oil rises too much and it sucks that oil into the engine and away you go, your car takes off. The driver is pretty much a bloody passenger at that point, unless he's stupid and he thinks his car has just gained a heck of a lot more horsepower. But there again, he won't be able to stop, will he? Because the car's just going to take off by itself and probably blow the bloody engine up in the process. Plus the fact, when you're getting all that diesel fuel going into your engine oil, it's thinning out your engine oil, isn't it? Not doing your crankshaft bearings any good, that's for bloody sure. Richie, hello. I just had my Mondeo Mark 5 serviced, had a rattle in the rear, found the problem to be rear shock top. Yep, exactly. The top mount held on by that 15mm nut. The top mount gets worn. I'll tell you what I do quite often on them, because they're so bloody rotten, you can't get the 15mm nut off. I get an angle grinder and cut down half the nut so I can knock the rest of the nut off without damaging the shock absorber. Because getting the nut off is sometimes a bit of a problem. Then you just put a brand new top mount on it, which you can buy from Ford, and a new nut, and away you go. No more knocking. But boy, oh boy, do they knock. Do they north make a boom, 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 boom as you're driving down the road. We had a lot of that. Your car must have done a few bloody miles for that shock absorber mount to be knocked out. That normally only happens on the Mondeos that have done quite a bit of mileage. I hope you're well. My Euro 5 Mondeo is still strong. just hits the 100k 60 plate. Whoa, that's good. Well, touch wood. Touch wood, it keeps going. Mind you, 100k, that's nothing, is it? That's just run in, really. That's just sort of like you bedded the bearings in. So we used to get Ford Sierras that we bought as taxis, that the boss bought as taxis. This is going back years ago. And you'd buy them around about 100,000 miles. And we used to say, yep, that one's just running, ready to start life as a taxi. Bartos, hello. Hope you're keeping well. Yep, still kicking. Haven't spontaneously combusted yet with the, you know, all this hot weather we're having. I haven't got sweat pouring down me, and you know, I haven't got the fans running at full blast and the aircon on. Hello, Sam. Hi, and sorry, how are you doing? I have had a little bit of issues with the rear brake caliper on my Skoda Octavia, which, as you know, is a common problem with the Volkswagen Group cars. I've spent 40 minutes. I have fitted a few rear brake calipers in Volkswagen cars. They tend to sort of like stick and cause the back disc to get heated up. So and bind badly. And you look at the caliper and you can't really see a great deal wrong with it. All right, nice to hear from you, Sam. Gareth, hello. I have a 2012 2-litre TDCi, just clicked over 100k. Is the timing belt still likely to be in good shape? Yes, that's a 2 Mark IV Mondeo. Surprisingly enough, the timing belts on them cars, the service life on them is like 125,000 miles. And as I tend to find when we were replacing them timing belts, when we were changing them at 100,000, they still look very, very good. But saying that, I would check it. It's worth checking just to make sure. I would even say, once your car has reached 100,000 miles, you're probably best replacing it anyway. Even if it does look good, you could probably go on for quite a while yet. But you know, is it worth taking the risk? If it breaks, if the timing belt was to break or strip the teeth or something like that, it's going to snap the rockers. It's not going to bend any valves unless you were really I've never ever come across a case where the valves have been bent on one of them engines, them 2-litre diesel engines. Never come across it unless somebody can tell me different. I've always had the rockers that go across the valves snap in the middle. But even saying that, it's still a bit of a job to get them out and replace them. Time consuming and fairly expensive. The rockers aren't exactly cheap. They're probably about £20 a piece, and there's 16 of them if it was to break them all. So for the sake of what it costs to get your timing belt replaced, I would do it at 100k or just over. So it's on borrowed time, that's for sure. Matthew, mine has done 70k. I do about 4,000 miles a year. So would I have to worry about the DPF? At 70,000 miles, no. They do say that short stop-start journeys is not good for your DPF. You really need a good long run. But on the Mark Vs, because the engine management system is actually controlling the regens, rather than what the older versions where you had to sort of like drive down the motorway for a good long run, these cars will do a regen even if you're ticking over sometimes. And you can tell when it's doing a regen because there is a potent smell that comes out the exhaust and you will smell it. If you smell it, you'll think, look at that, what? And once you know what that smell is, you'll know what a regen is. It might have to be pointed out to you by somebody, but they do have a particular smell when they're regenning. And I will say, for the Mark 5 Mondeos, even if you're running around town, they will regen. And it's a very good, clever engine management system that will regen your DPF very well. So at your mileage, I wouldn't be bothered at all. 70,000 is a blip, it's nothing. So your DPF should be lasting a long time yet. No, I wouldn't be worried whatsoever. Not at that mileage. No, I'm talking about 300,000 miles, around about. Elaine, hello. What about the Mark 5 1.6 turbo petrol manual? Good car? I haven't actually seen a 1.6 turbo petrol. I haven't had one yet. So I should think the car's good. I'm not sure about the engine because I haven't come across one. All the ones we've had have been diesels. But I should think it's okay. You'd have to sort of like try and read any reviews you can find. I shouldn't think it's a very common engine, because I certainly ain't seen any. But I'm sure the actual car is okay. It's just a bloody Mark 5 Mondeo, isn't it? It's just how good the engine is, I don't know. How much would you charge to do welding for the Transit Connect? Well, we don't do the welding. We have got a welder, but it's down our other garage, so we don't even get involved in welding cars anymore. We only do a few bits and pieces on our own stuff, but we don't take on welding jobs. But if you call our other garage, I mean, it can be arranged, but the guy down there might do a bit of welding, but he might not. But generally speaking, if it's welding, sort of like we filled it out, because it's not really our line. So it's not the kind of work we want to take on. Plus, well, we can do an MOT. It depends where you're based, though, isn't it? If you're in the Huntingdon area, you could come to Steve's MOT garage for a MOT test. You could, yeah. But if you're in, like, where are you, Sam? If you're in bloody Liverpool or somewhere, then it's not really worth it, is it? Paul, how are you? It's been a while. Yeah. I haven't had no inspiration lately. It's like, I haven't even got anything to video. I might just take the drone out at the weekend, maybe tomorrow, and just go and fly it somewhere. See if I can find something of interest. It's just boring around here. I haven't even got anything at work worth bloody talking about. Nothing interesting has come along. Tommy, hello. You should just pressure wash the DPF. We've had that done, and it just seems to be a short-term fix, and it just doesn't seem to last. So cleaning the soot out, I don't think that's the whole problem here. I think there's a bit more to it. I know you can clean them, and people do clean them, but it's not like once you've done that, maybe a month later they're blocked up again. That's the problem. That's why we're going down the whole cleaning route. It's just not working. This is why I've come to the conclusion that once a DPF reaches a certain point, just the same as a catalytic converter on a petrol car, when the precious metals inside that catalytic converter are dead, they don't convert the harmful gases into bloody water or carbon bloody whatever. So they just don't do the job no more. That chemical reaction doesn't happen no more. The catalytic converter is dead, and that's the end of it. You have to replace the catalytic converter, otherwise it will fail the emissions. And I think it's the same with these DPFs. there's something that they just don't last forever. And all the cleaning in the world is not going to change that fact. Once whatever happens inside them dies, or goes wrong, or melts, or whatever, you can't do nothing with them. You can delete them or replace them. It's as simple as that. But you can't. They won't carry on regenning. Once they stop regenning, and that's it. As I say, a lot of these DPFs we've tried to regen. They've got to the point where they're blocked, and they won't doing the regens will not unblock them enough. And other ones that are making the oil level rise, they don't appear to be blocked at all, but they're causing the oil level to rise because they're constantly, the engine management system is constantly trying to regen these DPFs, and it can't regen them. And you replace the DPF on it, and all of a sudden the car's perfect again, absolutely spot on. And it was the DPF all along. It's something. It's not the sensors on the DPF. I know you get the occasional time you can have a faulty sensor, temperature sensor or something, but nearly every case I've had now, it has literally been the DPF unit itself that's been at fault. And I really can't put my finger on what is going wrong on this, inside this. It's just like a honeycomb mesh inside the DPF. That's all it is, just like a filter. I can't put my finger on it exactly what's going wrong. I'm trying to find information out there that could actually say to you, this is exactly what goes wrong with a DPF after so many miles, say after 300,000 miles, and this is why they won't regen no more. That information is so difficult to find. But this seems to be what's happening. They get to the point where even if they're not blocked, they still won't regen properly, and they'll keep regenning and making your engine oil level rise. And if they're not making the engine oil level rise, or if they are as well, they can do it at the same time, they're getting blocked up quickly. So you have to do a regen. It will bring the soot level down to a reasonable level. The car will go away, and in 3 or 4 days it comes back again because it's blocked again. And you, in the end, you replace the DPF, and it's fine. Bingo, it's gone. Perfect. Which eliminates everything else on the car, like the EGR, the thermostat, the map sensor, the mass airflow sensor. Everything else in the car was working fine. It's literally the DPF itself. I've had this so many times now on these taxis that it's like I know instinctively now whether it's the actual DPF or not. And I can do a regen on one of these cars. If it cuts out halfway through the regen and aborts its regen, then I know there's something on the car causing the problem. If it does a full regen for 40 minutes and doesn't regen properly and clear the soot properly, it's the DPF that's at fault. But yeah, as I said earlier, the big problem here is that after you've done 300,000 miles around about and you have this DPF issue, whether it's making the engine oil level rise or whether it's just getting sooted up all the time, the problem is that literally the expense of replacing that DPF. That's the problem, because by which time your car is getting a few years old, and it's a lot of money to spend on a new DPF because they ain't cheap. You could buy another car for that price, or half a car at least. No one wants to spend that kind of money on a part that goes on your exhaust. Bloody hell, you don't even get to see it, do you? It's buried at the back of the engine. Russell, Prime Minister. I'll tell you what, if I was Prime Minister, there'd be some bloody changes. I wouldn't be taking my fucking marching orders for them lot in the WEF. That's for sure. Klaus Schwab and the rest of the bigots. No, it needs a Prime Minister who actually wants to rule this country and do well for the country. not just be a puppet for these lot higher up that are, you know, paying them all off. Stephen, what do you know about the Volvo Ford 2008 2-litre 16 valve engine? Well, I think that's the, it's a Peugeot engine, isn't it? It's this the 2-litre 16. Is that the? I mean, is that petrol or diesel? I'm guessing it's diesel. That's the, if it's a diesel engine, that's the earlier type of 2-litre diesel. Yeah, you'd have to tell me if it's petrol or diesel. Yeah, let me know what is it. What is it? I'm thinking it's diesel. If it is a diesel, they're good engines, perfectly good engines. The Mark IV, the Mondeo is like Mark 4.5 after 2000, around about 2012. They upgraded the engine. It's like a different, similar engine, but it's just a little bit different injectors and all that, different cylinder head. Alfred, Transit Connect Mark 1, 1.8 TDCI links, 82k, change the DPF, glow plug and run regen, but still engine malfunction still pops up. It depends what the codes are reading. Depends what the codes are saying. If you already changed the DPF, glow plug and run regen, but still engine normally, if you've changed the DPF, because why? Why did you change the DPF? Was it because it was blocked? Because if you've got a blocked DPF and you take that DPF off and you put, say you put a new DPF on, you haven't got to do a regen. You've only got to do a reset to say that you fitted a new DPF, and it should then switch the engine management light off without doing a regen. It depends. See, this is the problem. It all depends why the DPF was blocked in the first place. It's either blocked because the DPF is just knackered and old and needed replacing and was sooting up, or there's another problem on the engine causing it to block up. So, for instance, if you had a split in one of your turbo boost hoses, that will cause the DPF to sit up. If your engine EGR valve is faulty, that can also cause the DPF to block up. There's a whole host of different things that cause the DPF to block up. But if you change the DPF for a good one that's not blocked, you haven't got to do a regen. You can just tell it. You can, on your scanner or whatever you've got, diagnostic tool, that you've replaced the DPF, and it will bring the values back to zero. So I'd probably get the diagnostic tool plugged in and see if there's any codes that you can read that can point you into what's wrong. Laurentri, hello. What do you think about the DPF on the Mondeo Mark IV Euro 4 until 2010 on normal long distance use? Well, them ones, I believe, they're the ones before the Mark 4.5. They're the ones where they've just got your DPF and you've got two little rubber hoses that come off them and go up to like a pressure sensor to read the pressure of the DPF. So the engine management system is reading the pressure in the DPF to know how much soot's loading is in it. So they were generally speaking, they were pretty reliable. I haven't seen many problems with them, apart from the hoses can get burnt out and get a hole in them, then the DPF will get blocked up. But apart from that, they were pretty good. I haven't really had any problems with them. It was only on the later ones where they got the nozzle in the exhaust that used to block up and cause a lot more problems. So I think on a car like that, with that particular setup, I think as long as you do a fair few once in a while you can, get on a straight road and do a nice long journey, you know, down the motorway, that's probably what they need more than anything, they should last pretty well. Not heard any horror stories. I've not really had any problems with them. In actual fact, yeah, even on the later Mark 4s, on the Mark 4.5s, the actual DPFs weren't too bad either. But saying that, even so, they still come to a point where we've had a number of them where they've actually come to the end of their life, which was, you know, getting on well over 300,000 miles, and you'd have to replace them, just put another DPF on it. So I think it's like everything. It will come to a point where that's it. You're just going to have to change it. But until that day, obviously just keep driving it. Just try and use good quality fuel if you can. Try and do some longer runs if you can, when you can, especially on that system. And the other thing to remember is use the correct engine oil in your car, and especially on the Mark 5s, the 030. And even on like the Mark 4s, they use a special oil. I think it's called low ash oil, so that the actual engine oil causes the not so much sort of like soot when it's burnt, you know. So the engine oil is sort of like quite important for the running of the engine, and for the emissions. So if you start using the wrong engine oil, that can be detrimental to your emissions as well, which may seem a bit strange, but a lot of these modern engines, they have been designed to use certain engine oil. That's why you've got all these different models of cars out there, and a lot of them use different types of oil. So it's always best to use the oil the manufacturer states, even despite the fact it's probably going to be quite expensive. It's well worth using, because if you use the wrong engine oil, it can cause you problems in the long run. Matty, hello. Good evening to you. Saturday evening. Oh, what's going on? Hello, John. Yes, I cancelled my TV license. Fed up with the propaganda. They want to get rid of car ownership. I have a Volkswagen T5.1. It was going into regen every day. Yeah. If you get in constant regions, you've definitely got, chances are, it depends on if it's got high mileage, then chances are it is actually a DPF. And as you've just mentioned, TV licensing, I did get this letter this week. I have heard, or well, I have been told that if you cancel your TV license through the proper channels like I did, then they'll keep sending you letters out saying why haven't you got a TV license. But if you go back again to their website and cancel it for the second time, then apparently they'll stop sending you letters. I haven't done that, so I'm debating whether to do it a second time if I can be bothered. But there again, I'm thinking to myself, I quite like the fact of getting all these letters. You know, it gives me something to read, doesn't it? It gives me something to moan about. So will you be in on the 10th of August? So we haven't got to 10th of August yet. As there is no record of TV license at your address, you should expect a visit from a lackey. It may be on the 10th of August or another day. Well, it either is or it bloody isn't. They've just said, will I be on the 10th of August? Now they're saying they might not be there on the 10th of August. What the fuck? If you are caught watching a recorded live TV on any channel or device, you could face a fine of £1,000. So, whatever. We visit around 5,000 addresses a day. Well, you ain't visiting mine yet. You can't even tell me what fucking day you're going to be in. I quite enjoy these letters. I do. I really do. They're kind of like friendly, aren't they? I like the BBC. I like all their good reading. Anyway, let's carry on. Hello, Paul. And now the Mondeos are getting on a bit. Yeah, you can say that again. What's the highest mileage that you've came across lately? Blimey. I've not really been paying much attention, you know, but there must be a few now that are getting dangerously close to 400,000. I'll have to keep my eyes out. There are a few that are around about 400,000. And but I can't tell you whether that's on the same engine. I think if you lovely looked after one of these engines and done the oil changes with the correct oil, probably every 8 to 10,000 miles, you could get 400,000 out of one of these engines, no problem. But a lot of the taxis, because we do them at every 15,000 miles, it's like maybe that's a bit of a longer oil change life that's not doing it much good, because you know diesel engine oil, it gets worked a lot harder than the oil in petrol engines, so it breaks down quicker. That's why it should be changed. So I don't know what to say. Maybe it's the use of the cars as well, being used as taxis. They're thrashed everywhere. A lot of the drivers, they're in a hurry to get here, there, and everywhere, get their fares and all that. They're not all serviced when they should be all the time. You know, sometimes they run over. But yeah, if you do look after one of them engines, they will do you well. They are still a very good engine, despite the timing chain tensioner issues. But there again, if the oil is changed at lesser intervals, that may make your chain last longer. I don't know. The turbo was changed to try and rid the problem. Swap sensors off a Focus that is going grey. Originally had code for EGR, but since new unit, no more codes. Even been to Ford for an update check. I had someone change a turbo. I can't remember the name of this turbo. It was on a Mk5 Mondeo. I think it was the one. It was either 1.5 or 1.6 engine diesel. And my mate, he changed the turbo for an aftermarket turbo, and he had no go in it. He rung them up, and they swapped the turbo for another one. He put that on it, and it was still exactly the same, no power. He then went to Ford at great expense and bought a turbo from Ford, put that on it, boom, car went like a fucking rocket. And he compared these aftermarket turbos to the Ford turbo, and he could clearly see that the turbo actuator was wrong on both these turbos, and he sent them both back and got his money back. So basically, what turbo have you fitted? Is it an aftermarket turbo? I'm just saying, I might be wrong here, but it's not, you know, a lot of aftermarket parts, including turbos can be totally wrong and be your problem. It's nothing worse than replacing something like a turbo, and the new turbo is no better than the turbo you just replaced, because the new turbo hasn't been put together properly. It happens, and in this was I'm going back about 3 months now. So he said, I'm never going to use them aftermarket turbos again. Just not going to use them. Total waste of time. He said, next time I change the turbo, I'm going to buy one a Ford, genuine one. So that's the problem. You could be changing a new part, thinking that's eliminated that, when the actual fact the new part you've just fitted is still the problem. Cheers, no worries. With a Duratorque 2 litre, is there a ritual to reset anything when replacing the fuel filter? Similarly to when the oil and oil filter are changed. Well, when you do the oil and oil filter, you can use the buttons on your the left-hand side buttons on your steering wheel to do a reset, an engine oil and filter reset, or engine oil life reset on your dash. With the fuel filter, you don't do nothing at all. You just change the fuel filter, that's it. The only thing you've got to do is that oil life reset on your instrument pack using the buttons on your steering wheel, and that's it. Camshaft snapped at 65 miles per hour on the, oh blimey. That's not good, is it? It's pretty unusual for a camshaft to snap though. I know it can happen. A game over. Nick the whole bottle on stream. With no flipping chance. There must be. There's over half a bottle in there. No way. I'll tell you what, I'll do one little swig. Oh, I'll be dead if I drink that. Oh. Oh, flipping heck. No. Paul, Alan, you still planning to go back over to the yes, I am. Yes. October, November, hopefully. There's just so much to bloody sort out, which just takes time trying to get everything done, but we'll see how we go. But yeah, I'm definitely going back. Oh, I've just lost where we are. Lucas, what do you think about the Mondeo facelift with the Eco Blue? We haven't had any Eco Blues, although I should think it's the it's pretty much the same. I mean, the only Eco Blues I can talk about are the ones that go in the Transits. I haven't seen any of the Mondeos with the Eco Blue. Only the Transits, which are pretty much the same thing. They're okay. Going to be an absolute pain in the ass when they go wrong. When the EGR and the thermostat and stuff like that takes a shit, it's going to be a pain because they're all going to cause the. You know, I don't like this AdBlue crap. I absolutely hate it. It's disgusting stuff. Even when you're pouring it in and you spill it, it like kind of mutates across the floor, doesn't it? Like ivy been growing everywhere. It's like horrible stuff. Who the bloody hell thought of that? Squirting urine into your exhaust. It's like, couldn't have, yeah, the older PATS fluid that you filled a tank up with. That was dirty stuff, but at least once you filled the tank up, it would last 70, 80,000 miles, didn't it? This flipping AdBlue doesn't last that long. It doesn't last very long at all. And you've got to keep topping it up. And then if you get a problem with the AdBlue system, you have to get it fixed, or your car's going to break down where it won't start when it runs out. So, me personally, I would avoid a car that takes that AdBlue. I don't like it. It's horrible stuff. Gamo, what do you think of the 1.5 petrol Mondeos? I haven't actually had any or come across any 1.5 petrols. The only cars we've had are diesels. God, I live in a small world. I don't get out enough to actually see these cars. All I see is the bloody diesels. So I can't really tell you. But I should think a 1.5 petrol, if there is one, it's like, I should think it's underpowered. No, you want a 2 litre in a Mondeo at least. Because anything else like one, I can compare a 1.5 diesel to the 2 litre diesel, and the 2 litre diesel is a lot quicker. The 1.5, it literally feels underpowered. So it's too big a car for that size engine. That's the problem. Stephen, have you noticed not many Mark IV Mondeos on the roads now? You only seem to see the estate versions running around. Well, the estates are sort of like, people hang on to them, don't they? Because they're useful. You know, you can put a lot of stuff in the back of estates. Well, I don't know, I still see a fair few Mark IVs about, but I don't think they were the greatest selling car of all time, were they, to start with? I know there were a lot of them, but no, you don't see that many about. But I don't know, it's like everything, in it. They'll eventually all die away, and then everything, all the newer cars will take its place. You know, you go back to like, I'll go with British Leyland here. You know, Metros, Maestros, Montegos, Princesses, Ambassadors, Allegros, Maxis. You know, all them cars, they're all gone. You'd be lucky to see one anymore. And it'll be the same with the Mondeos, won't it? Eventually, they'll all disappear, and there'll be something else. EVs, no doubt. Howard, hello. My 2014 Mark V Mondeo makes a creaking sound from the body shell as somewhere when the weather is warm and dry. Bit of damp, it's quiet. Well, good luck with that one. I know the rear suspension arm bushes in half creak on them cars, so it might be that. As far as the Mark V's go, I haven't really heard any body creaking. The rear suspension arm bushes or the front suspension arm rear bushes, they can creak. I'm coming to the end of the Institute of Advanced Motoring course, and as a result, I'm getting approximately 800 miles from a tank of diesel. Is that good? I don't know. You're talking to someone who only puts like a 10 a minute at a time. I wouldn't even know what a tank of diesel is anymore. Bloody hell. It's been many, many years since I've even filled a tank up. But if that's good, then good. I don't know what more to say. Hello, Steve. Not expecting Big Clive tonight as he is working at the Edinburgh Tattoo. Oh, what's that then? Edinburgh Tattoo. I don't know what that is, Steve. It sounds interesting though. Cameras do not read the old white on black number. So if you've got a 1936, I don't know, Ford Model T or something, you're in luck. We should all change our number plates then, shouldn't we? What is going on? Come on. Sometimes this computer just crashes, you know. It loses internet and goes bizarre bananas, but it hasn't done it tonight, so I've been lucky. Hello, Michael. A lot of new cars have tractors already built in that the government trackers, what did I say, trackers already built in that the government could use to track us for the manufacturer. They also have speed limiting built in. Well, they can do the speed limiting through the ECU quite easily. But yeah, not surprising. Big brother, isn't it? That's why I prefer old shitters. I don't like all this technology. I know it's good and it's interesting, but it all depends how it's used, isn't it? By those lot up there. You are weird. Well, thank you for that. You've got to be weird in this world, haven't you? Face green smiling, face green smiling, face green smiling. Thank you, Mason. They are on about hydrogen for our gas boilers. Oh, you've hit a point now. But you still have to use electric or gas to make the hydrogen. I still think hydrogen is a good way to go. Look at Toyota, what they're doing. Let me show you something. Now you've mentioned boilers, let me show you something. In this cupboard is a boiler. It's an Ideal ICOS HE12. It stopped working a few weeks ago, and I'm going to show you what went wrong with it. This is what's called a PCB, printed circuit board. This is like the control unit for the boiler. So all the electronics are in here, and your little faceplate would go on here, which bolts onto there. So your display would clip on like that, so you can sort of like see if your boiler's in standby or whether it's working. Well, my boiler stopped working, and there was a funny smell in the kitchen, and I couldn't quite understand what it was to start with because it smelled a bit like TCP. So I got my mate round to have a quick look, and you ready? Look at that. That is a flipping great hole, burnt, and all the plastic has melted. There. you see it's nearly caught fire, and you've got a bloody great resistor there, and it's all crispy and burnt. So yeah, we had to get Ideal, the actual company, out to sort this out. And as it turned out, the PCB here was not at fault. There was nothing wrong with this. This was a result of something else, because it was just at the point where the boiler was about to fire up. It blew that, and the reason it blew it, that's what's called an igniter, and it's got like a spark plug lead which goes to an electrode to kind of like ignite your gas in the burner. This igniter, there's something wrong with it. That's what caused the PCB to blow. So there you go. That boiler's been going for 14 years, as sweet as a nut. So about time we had a few bob spent on it, but it's all fixed now. So anyway, thank you, Michael. Yeah, you have to use electric or gas to make the hydrogen. Yeah, but they're still building engines with hydrogen, and they're making them work. I think it's still a better idea than electric. I think it's a safer idea than electric. The amount of electric cars that you're hearing that are now going up in smoke, and once electric car catches fire, you just need to run, because there's not a lot you can do about it. Electrical fires are pretty serious. You can't stop them. Once they go, they go. At least in a petrol or diesel, you can get out. My next taxi, I don't know what to do for petrol or diesel now that LES has hit my working area of Glasgow. I don't know. I don't know. This is the way the world's going, isn't it? Unless you can go like some kind of hybrid car. Would that work? Toyota hybrid? That's what a lot of taxi drivers are using these days, isn't it? Ian, EV lose a lot of money in the first 22 months and they have a very low second-hand price. Well, that's right. Who can afford an EV? I think the cheapest ones are like £50,000, aren't they? So have you got £50,000 to spend on an EV? And then you've still got to plug it in. And look at the price of electricity these days. That's gone through the bloody roof, hasn't it? Vincent, first time me catching you live, I'll watch till the end. Well, I only plan to run for about an hour, and it's now 1.5 flipping hours. So I'm going to call it a day, but thank you, Vincent, for joining the live stream anyway. I do talk about some bullshit and a load of old bollocks. I guess some people who do drive the Mark 5 Mondeos, sometimes they learn a little bit. But tonight's video about the DPFs is pretty much how long they're going to last on these Mark 5 Mondeos, the 2-litre diesel engine that is. And as I said, it's around about 300,000 miles. You're pretty much going to be at the end of the DPF's life, to the point where, as far as I can see, you can't do nothing with it but replace it. Dragon, alternator won't charge on idle, but even little higher RPM, everything is okay. I think new alternator is needed. Depends what car it's on. Because a lot of these cars have got these smart charging systems, but it does sound like, by your description there, it does sound like alternator. Because if you're taking the revs up a little bit and all of a sudden it jumps up, it sounds like the regulator in the alternator or something's buggered. But yeah, you're probably right there. I think a lot of these cars with the smart alternator, smart charging systems, even if you took the revs up, the battery voltage wouldn't change if the battery was charged up. They only start charging when the battery's low. So if the battery is fully charged up, the alternator won't charge the battery, and you might have your multimeter on the battery thinking, well, it's not charging, when everything is actually perfectly fine. But by what you're saying, it does sound like alternator. You would be knackered in an automatic if it ran away. Yeah. Yes. What could you do? What could you do? If you put it into neutral, it would flipping rev like unbelievably, and stick your foot on the brake. At least in a geared car, you can put it in a higher gear, and you can stick your foot on the brake and turn the ignition off, and hope you can sort of like bring it down. But yeah, in an automatic, it might be a bit of a problem, mightn't it? Stan, what about Mondeo Mark 5 2-litre TDCi, 180 horsepower, limp mode, about 1,000 kilometers, and no code to read, ignition off and on and clear? If it's in limp mode, there will be a code of some description. There has to be. There can't be a limp mode and not be a code. So it depends what you're using to actually read the codes. Might not be picking up something or whatever. I can guarantee if I'm using a Snap-on Solus Ultra or something like that, any car I've ever come across that's in limp mode, especially the Mark 5 Mondeos, there will be a code there. So maybe change your diagnostic tool for something else and see what it picks up. I've changed the oil pressure sensor, not original. Well, might be okay. You can use aftermarket ones. They're perfectly fine in a lot of cases. What's the newest cam belt you have seen snapped? Oh, flipping heck. The only one I can really say these days, I haven't come across a snap cam belt in years, but the only one in recent years is on the Mark 5, which was it didn't snap, it stripped a load of the teeth off, and that was down to the high pressure fuel pump on the upper end of the camshaft not being timed up, so it was sending like vibrations through the camshaft, which damaged the cam belt and caused it to strip its teeth. But that's a whole nother story. So yeah, but I haven't actually seen a snapped cam belt in years now. David, Mark 5 into limp mode, a message saying transmission failure. Then I took this diagnostic, it's losing coolant also. Yeah, well, if it's losing coolant on a Mark 5, that's nothing new. So I would sort the coolant leak out first. Then you'd have to see what the codes are reading. Maybe try and clear them all. Then drive it again and see if they come back and pinpoint what you're supposed to be looking at. You too, David. I'm going to call it a night because it's getting late. I've been going for like an hour and nearly 40 minutes. So if I can't get to everybody's comments, then sorry guys, next time. So that's it. I've said what I'm going to say about the Mark 5s. So DPFs, if your car does get to around about 300,000 miles, then be prepared for a big bill or to sell your car, one or the other, because that's what it will probably come down to. These DPFs, as far as I'm concerned, they have a certain lifespan and that's it. They're knackered. You have to replace them or do something else with them. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, thanks for watching everybody. I will see you all in the next one. Adios.